there's no place like home for the holidays. And no matter how far away you roam, if you pine for the sunshine of a friendly gaze, for the holidays you can.
Welcome back to Horror for the Holidays, a Christmas horror movie podcast. I'm Jay Logsden.
Jay, when gone am I, the last of the podcasters will you be? Do not underestimate the stupidity of the internet. Oh yeah, I'm back. It's Jeff Searcy.
Jeff's back. Woo-hoo! Hey now, my co-host's back.
Yes, I have returned.
Well, we got lots of correspondence about you, about wishing you well. Off the top of my head, my buddy Robert asked about you. He was over the other day for the AEW pay-per-view. We got I'm trying to remember everybody. I know Spencer got in touch.
Yeah.
Bats and the Brit Free on Instagram, a really fun follow. Really nice lady. She got in touch. A handful of other people. I can't remember everybody. But very, very nice people reaching out. We're worried about you. Nice to know that, people actually listen to this show.
Apparently somebody cares about us, Jay. Weird.
And here we are. It's a little late, but it's still technically Christmas. It's the 12th night of Christmas, or the 12th day of Christmas. It's Epiphany or whatever.
Yes, indeed.
And I mean, I think even I have it on good authority that in some European areas, Christmas lasts until I think maybe the middle of February. So yes. I mean, we even if we had been that late, we would have been fine.
We're always on time.
Yep. But yeah. Anyway, we're gonna continue our Christmas tradition. We're gonna talk about a Black Christmas movie this time. 2019's Black Christmas. Let's deck the halls.
Indeed. Oh, and technically we're early for Christmas in Russia. It runs from January 7th to the 17th.
Oh, there we go. So yeah, we're good no matter where we are. Released December 13th, 2019. I saw this movie in theaters actually.
Nice.
The last movie I saw before COVID.
Ah, interesting.
There might have been another one, but I feel like this was the last one I saw in theaters before COVID. There might have been like a real bad one that I saw.
I saw The Invisible Man.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yes.
I think Malignant was post-COVID, or was kind of like during or post-COVID.
Yeah.
But I feel like there was one that there might have been one more that I saw, but I feel this was either the last one I saw before COVID or the second one to last one I saw before COVID. Written and directed by Sophia Takal, also written by April Wolf. Stars Imogen Poots as Riley. I just love Imogen Poots. I think it's not only do I think she's a good actress, I think it's a fun name.
It's a fun name, definitely.
Elise Shannon plays Chris. We got Lily Donahue as Marty, Brittany O'Grady as Jess, Caleb Eberhardt is Landon, and he was JD in one episode of season 1 of Grant Morrison's Happy, which if you do kind of weird, creepy Christmas stuff, check out Grant Morrison's Happy. It's a fun show. Dr. Lawrence Gordon from Saw, Robin Hood from Robin Hood Men in Tights, Wesley from The Princess Bride, Cary Elwes himself plays Professor Gelson.
The best character in the movie.
So, I mean, Cary Elwes shows up and you're just like, what's Cary Elwes doing? Why are we talking about all these other people? Cary Elwes is in this movie.
Exactly.
Ben Black plays Phil, and we will see him this February in Hard Eyes.
Oh.
Which I'm excited for. Hard Eyes looks great. Same Michael Kennedy, same guy who did It's a Wonderful Life.
Oh, okay. Should be good.
Whoops. We're right back to where we started.
Right back into the
swing of things.
Yeah.
Johnny McBride is Black Mask, but is more importantly the stunt performer, and important to Jeff's interests. Was the stunt performer in M3gan.
Yes.
And M3gan 2.
Excellent.
Estimated $5 million budget, made 18.5 million box office. So
Jason knows how to churn them out cheap. That's how this
Yep.
studio keeps rolling out all these movies.
classic Blumhouse movie. We'll get into the fact that it's Blumhouse later on. Where to watch? You could buy DVD, Blu-ray copy. Also streaming, I think only on Max.
Yes, I think so. Interesting behind the scenes note. Jason Blum usually tries to make his movies PG-13 to make sure that the largest possible audience can see it. But he doesn't require his directors to do that. And he actually told the director of this movie if she needed to, she could make it an R-rated movie. And he was fine with that. So I think it's nice that he gives the directors the choice.
I think there are some fun PG-13 horror movies out there, but I think a lot of the times like an R-rated horror movie is just better.
Feels better.
And I think I've even heard that maybe there is like an R-rated cut of this.
Yes, they did. There was a couple of cuts they put before the ratings board, and they ended up going with the PG-13 one.
I would really like to see it, especially because like I think they cut out like about 30 minutes, and I would like to know if there's like more character development. I ran into this problem with this movie that I think I've ran into like with a couple of the other like girls all having fun movies. Black Christmas 2006, Christmas Blood, Yule Blood, where there were moments where I'm like, wait, which girl is that?
Yeah.
Like, because a lot of the girls look the same.
Yeah.
And I think this movie also kind of fell into that. But also, I had a problem with it as well, where I feel like the people weren't introduced, like, immediately.
Yes, that was kind of weird, that they act like you know all these people already for, like, the first 20 minutes of the movie.
And so I'm sitting there, and I'm like, I'm like, trying to, like, take notes, and I'm like, okay, which one's that? And then I'm having to go back and write in their names later on.
It definitely felt like they cut out like probably like a 10 or 15 minute intro portion of the movie.
But yeah, other than that, filmed in New Zealand. We'll get into that later on.
Also filmed in only 27 days.
Hey, not bad.
Yep, that's that Blumhouse efficiency for you.
You ready to get started?
Yes.
All right, let's dive into our synopsis. A quote appears on the screen. Man possesses powers so formidable they can only be considered supernatural. Oh boy. With a proper education, men can wield these powers and go forth into the world. Calvin Hawthorne. I assume that's like Pierce Hawthorne's dad.
Yeah.
Founder of Hawthorne College, 1819.
I mean, that's the assumption I was going on.
It by every single time, like I was like, they brought up that it was Hawthorne University or Calvin Hawthorne. I'm like, how's he related to Pierce?
Well, quick Chevy Chase note, by the way. In case you were wondering, yes, he really is Pierce Hawthorne in real life. The director of that new Saturday night movie about the first episode of Saturday Night Live, he invited Chevy Chase and his wife to come watch a screening of it. And when it was over, he came up, put his hand on the director's shoulder and said, "Well, you should be embarrassed."
He's such a dick.
I thought that was a peek at somebody's watch party.
Oh my god, that is so Chevy Chase. He's such an asshole. I mean, it's funny, but also like, come on, dude, you don't have to be a giant prick all the time.
So anyway, back at Hawthorne College.
Yeah. There's ominous chanting of fraternitas fratum, as we get shots of a door, guys in robes, candles, and a bust of Calvin Hawthorne with the Delta Kappa Omicron flags in the background. And then the scene kind of turns into flame, and then it pans out into like a fireplace with like a Yule log burning. And there's like a sorority house, and all these girls are having a fun time. And as the camera continues to pan out, we get a glimpse of a crystal unicorn. Oh,
Interesting.
I'm gonna shout out every Black Christmas reference I noticed in the movie.
There's quite a few. You know, for a movie that really is not that close to the original, there's a lot of references to the original in it.
And then one of the girls says something about like, "Does anyone know where Lindsay is?" And then another girl goes like, "Oh, I heard she's on her way back from the library."
Mm-hmm. Weird that you heard that, but okay.
Cut to Lindsay leaving the library. She gets a text from Calvin Hawthorne. Weird. I thought he was dead.
Yeah.
Also, it's not a text. It's a Yip Yap, which I thought was a really silly name.
I'll send you a Yip Yap later, Jay.
And it's a pig emoji and a cat emoji. I'm wondering if that's a 1974 reference because of the whole pretty pink pussy,
Yeah.
piggy cunt thing. Like,
Yeah, I'm guessing that's probably what it is.
and so she's like getting these texts, and she's kind of like thinks she's being followed by this guy, and then it turns out the guy who's following her like crosses the street
Yeah.
and like was not following her, and then she runs into this dude in like black robes and a mask who kind of chases her through the neighborhood.
It's got weird red eyes too.
Yeah, and she like thinks she's escaped. She like makes it to a house. The house, and like she's banging on the door, kind of Halloween. The end of Halloween, and the door opens, and she thinks, oh, like I'm safe. See, someone let me in, and the guy's just standing inside the
Somehow
house.
in the house, yes. Weird, but okay.
The killer then kind of like pushes her backwards, breaks a icicle off of the roof, and then stabs Lindsay with it.
Which my wife has always said that's the perfect murder weapon since it melts and there's no evidence.
It is the perfect murder weapon. Also, I assume maybe a little Black Christmas 2006, because I think
Yep.
one of the girls gets impaled with an icicle.
Yes.
And then, but Lindsay was kind of flailing her arms. She made a snow angel, and then she gets pulled like backwards. And we just get this still shot of like her body being pulled in the snow angel. Black Christmas title card.
It's one of my favorite kills in the movie.
I agree. I think that's that. Someone asked me a while ago. They were like, "What are your thoughts on Black Christmas 2019?" And I'm like, I saw it in 2019, and I haven't watched it again since. This is the first time I've seen it since. And I'm like, but I remember loving the opening kill. Like I thought that was awesome, even if a lot of the snow looked very fake.
Yep.
And then one of the kills later on, the Exorcist 3 kill.
Yes.
I was like, I remember loving those. I'm like, I don't remember much else of the movie.
Yeah. Well, and we'll get into that, but there's really not a whole lot else to remember.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So yeah, title card. Hold on.
He's turning the page. We're analog here.
A Jingle Bells song by Bing Crosby and his brother maybe plays. It's a weird version of Jingle Bells.
Bing Crosby's brother.
As Riley is woken up by her cat Claudette, reference to 1974 Black Christmas. The cat's name is Claude. And she kind of gets up. She talks to different sorority sisters. We get Fran. We get Helena. We're introduced to Chris and what are the other two? Jesse, and there's one other one, Marty. We're introduced to kind of all these sorority sisters. Riley arrives at Professor Gelson's class, where he kind of chastises her because someone in Riley's sorority house, we learn is Chris, is trying to get him fired because he's only teaches writing by straight white men, which he's like, well, I teach the classics. He's a real stuck up, like snooty college professor.
He did have a pretty good meme against her, though, Jay, because he used that quote that was about men being superior by a woman.
Yeah.
I thought that was a pretty good meme.
We also learn that Chris got the bust of Calvin Hawthorne removed from the school, but they, for whatever reason, kept the name Hawthorne University.
Yeah. Well, see, and that's the kind of thing I was like, okay, so you got them to move his statue, but it's still named after him. So what does that really do?
What was that show that I watched where like they changed the name of the thing because of some reason, and then it turned out that they're like, well, we found a guy with like a similar, like we couldn't get the name changed, but we found a guy with a similar name, and he's like, he seems like a good guy, like he seems pretty normal, and then he gets up there, and at first like he's very normal, and he's like, but we need to talk about the flat Earth. I don't remember what show that was, but it was very funny.
That does sound funny.
But we learned that the Calvin Hawthorne bust was removed and relocated to the Delta Kappa Omicron frat, which we saw at the beginning of the movie. So they now have possession of it, and I assume they do some kind of skull and bones jerking off shit with it.
I believe Chris alludes to that. Now they can all jerk off on it in private. Or yeah.
Which, I mean, there's some kind of goo in this movie.
Yeah, there's a lot of goo.
Riley works at the cafe, and while her friends talk, Riley has a meet cute with this guy we meet, Landon. Also, Phil walks in. He's part of the Delta Kappa Omicron fraternity, and he makes fun of Riley for getting raped by his I wrote sorority brother. I meant fraternity brother, Brian, who's going to also be at the performance tonight.
I think what you're trying to say, Jay, is that a Chad, alpha male, stunts on a liberal cuck who's trying to talk to a woman at a coffee shop.
It's also mentioned that Lindsay, the girl from the beginning of the movie, was a Delta Sig, so that's why Riley isn't aware that she is missing yet.
Okay.
She's part of a different sorority.
Connected but different, yes.
Because I noticed that, and I was like, it was like one of those lines that's kind of like muttered, like kind of like while something else is going on.
Speaking of, in this movie, there's a lot of stuff that's important to the plot that's just kind of glossed over in one sentence.
And so like I paused the movie and I rewound and I was like, what did they say about Lindsay? And then I'm like, oh, she was part of a different sorority. Riley goes to the Delta Kappa Omicron party for a talent show with Marty, Chris, and Jesse. But Helena is missing. And she kind of goes looking for her. One of the girls mentions that like Helena was like pounding back like vodkas, Red Bull vodkas or something like that.
Yes.
And she kind of, and as she's like searching around, she peeks in on this room where a bunch of sorority brothers are standing around with black robes on, ominous, just like the beginning of the movie.
Fraternity brothers.
So yeah, fraternity. God, I'm gonna keep doing that. Fraternity brothers, and they're all standing around rubbing black goo on each other.
They're chanting in a circle and rubbing their goo on each other, Jay, as you do in a frat house.
I assume this is what happens. I was not a frat guy. I don't know what they do, but I assume that based off of this movie, they rub goo on each other.
Yes, I believe so.
And so she she like finds, I think, maybe some of the black goo is on the doorknob too.
Yes.
Like, guys, clean up your goo.
They got the goo everywhere.
She then like hears like Helena like in another room, and she goes and checks on her, and Helena's drunk, and it looks like she's about to be taken advantage of by this guy Phil, and basically Riley's able to convince Phil to leave, and she kind of sends Helena home to go. Kind of sober up, and then Jesse, Chris, and Marty are like, well, we can't perform without Helena here, but Riley, you know all the moves. Mm-hmm. So then they go to do this big performance at the.
She's hesitant to do it because the one who assaulted her, Brian, is going to be there.
Yep, but they get up and they start doing this performance, and it's a version of Up on the Housetop, but then it's about basically about. Rape culture and fraternities is the song.
Fun, good Black Christmas.
And then they all like, as like some of the people in the audience are like applauding, and then like all the frat bros are like, oh, what the shit. No. And random aside here, I just want to point out that it is this one fraternity. There's like, I think there are name dropped at one point like at least 5 other sororities, but there's this fraternity, and then I think there's the Zetas.
Yep.
Is the one other fraternity that's mentioned. Do you think like the Zetas are like the snobs? It's like a slobs versus snobs like fraternity
guessing,
situation.
Yeah, a real Animal House going on.
And so like, do you think like the Zetas like roll up at the end of the movie? Like they're like, let's go prank the Deltas, and then they like roll up and see the carnage left at the end of the movie. They're like, what the shit? Like, what the fuck happened?
I could totally see that happening.
Like, a bunch of like Jays and Jeffs are in the Zeta fraternity.
Yeah, that's where we'd be definitely.
Like, I just had that thought like halfway through the movie. I'm like, what do you think the other fraternities are doing while all this is going on?
Party, bro.
So all the girls leave. Landon goes with them, and they all kind of talk and kind of, have this discussion, talk about orphan dinner, which is kind of all the people who aren't going home for Christmas are going to go and, and have all the sorority girls are going to have this dinner together.
You're going to have dinner with Paul Giamatti.
Yeah. One of those leftovers that I hear so much about. And then while they're kind of all walking at the sorority house, Helena is drunkenly packing for winter break, and she gets a yip yap from Calvin Hawthorne.
Uh-oh.
What our time is near. If it has begun. As her door closes, she opens it and kind of looks down the hall saying hello, doesn't see anybody. And then we cut back to her, and there's a black-robed figure standing behind her.
Oh, no.
Riley wakes up the next morning to a text from Uma asking if she knows where Lindsay is, that she hasn't gotten home yet. And so once again, the reason that no one else is aware of what happened to Lindsay at the beginning of the movie is because Lindsay was in a different sorority.
Oh, no.
A bunch of stuff is missing from the sorority house, and Riley finds black goo on Claudette the cat.
Damn.
People need to stop leaving their goo places. Fran, one of the sorority sisters, stays behind because she has to leave soon, as the rest of the girls go and get a Christmas tree. Fran hears Claudette but can't find her. Homage to Mrs. Mack. And she's getting ready to leave too. She's like, I think she's even like, Claudette, I'm good if you make me miss my train, which is almost, I think, word for word what Mrs. Mack says.
Yes.
And she kind of goes searching around the house, and we get this long, like, kind of stationary shot of Fran kind of going. She goes into one room. It's like this dark hallway. She goes into one room, opens the door, and that kind of lights a section of the hallway. Goes into another room, opens the door, that lights a section of the hallway. Goes into the third room, opens the door, looks around. We see the cat kind of scurry across the floor, and she goes to leave, and then quick zoom in, jump scare, Exorcist 3 style, as the black robed figure with Christmas lights comes behind her to strangle her.
Yep.
But it's Christmas lights instead of giant scissors.
Nice. I love a good Christmas light strangle.
And I also love Exorcist 3. So,
And speaking of Mrs. Mack, boy, could this movie have used a Mrs. Mack.
I had the same thought. I was like, oh, why not have a Mrs. Mack character? Yeah. While picking out the tree, Riley gets a yip yap from Calvin Hawthorne, and then gets a weird distorted phone call, which I thought, oh, maybe we're getting a little more actual Black Christmassy with phone calls instead of just yip yaps.
But nope.
And then it turns out that it's just Helena's mom being like, I haven't seen Helena. Do you know where she is? Riley goes to inform campus security that Helena is missing. And as she leaves, we see Fran's body on the balcony of the sorority house.
Dun, dun, dun.
The campus security guard is less than helpful and has some really funny, if incompetent lines.
Yeah.
Like she's like, I've been getting these weird DMs. And he just stares at her blankly. And she's like, direct messages. And he continues to stare.
Yeah,
she's like, texts, like texts on apps, and he's like, "Oh yes, DMs." that moment just cracked me up. And basically, she's like, I've got this friend missing. I've been getting these weird texts. Like, can you help me find him?
He does have a point. It's like, okay, so somebody's been sending you weird messages, and a girl's been missing for a day. When it's break and everybody's going home.
I think he even says like 9 times out of 10 they're with their boyfriend, which is also a line from 1974's Black Christmas.
But I mean, to his credit, he does go with her to check out the house.
Yep. So they go to the Delta Kappa Omicron house or whatever, and kind of go to investigate, but nobody's there.
They'll almost be on their ski trip, Jay.
Riley kind of sneaks around. I think she even calls Helena's phone and hears it ringing inside the frat.
Yep.
And while she's kind of snooping, she runs into Professor Gelson, who has like a sheet of paper with a bunch of the girls' names on it.
Weird.
And he's like, oh, they asked me to let the cleaning crew in. Mm-hmm. And he kind of like fumbles around for keys, but can't find them. And then eventually has one of those rock keys and is able to get the door unlocked. And then he's like, do you want to come in and look for your missing phone? Because I think Riley says it's
she left it. Yeah.
And she's like, no. And she just runs off. Mm-hmm. And Professor Gelson's just like, all right. Just walks inside and closes the door.
She's getting bad vibes, Jay. And it's for a reason.
And he does kind of like threaten her a couple times.
Well, and this is also when she finds out that Chris posted the video of their accusation song online.
Yep. At Orphan Dinner, Riley mentions the DMs, and then some of the other girls are like, I've been getting weird DMs too. Mm-hmm. Nate, who is Marty's boyfriend, is acting like a real jerk. Now, I haven't mentioned him yet at all. Neither Jeff or I have.
Just because it's not important.
Because he's unimportant to the story up until this moment. But every other time Nate's involved, he just seems like just kind of like a normal like dude. But instead he's being like, will you bitches shut up? Like I'm trying to drink a beer over here. Like real like Al Bundy.
Yeah. That is who it reminded me of.
And so Marty and him get in a fight and she kicks him out. And meanwhile, Jesse goes upstairs to find some more Christmas lights. We get this long scene where she goes up into the attic, just like Black Christmas 1974.
Boy.
And I believe there is a rocking chair in the attic.
There is.
And she goes and she plugs in one strand of lights and it doesn't work. And then she goes and she grabs another strand of lights and plugs it in and it doesn't work.
One of my favorite lines of the entire movie, by the way. Do Christmas lights expire?
I thought that was a great line. Then goes and grabs the third set of lights. It works, but it illuminates a masked killer in the shadows
no.
behind her. And we hear her scream as the camera quickly cuts away.
I hate it when that happens. At this point, I think we're at the...
all the girls are kind of like... I think
like-
all the girls are kind of arguing.
They're like arguing by the front door, and then they hear like a thump, and then a second thump.
And then it turns out there's a masked killer in the house shooting arrows at them.
Yes.
And one of the arrows strikes Marty in the knee.
Yes.
She takes an arrow to the knee.
Very Skyrim. I
And
like
the
it.
girls are able to like kind of escape, and they make their way up to a storage room, but they realize, they all got texts at the same time. That's what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And so they all kind of took their phones out to check them, and then the arrows started
start
flying.
yeah.
And you're getting shot at, you're not going to put your phone back in your pocket. So they
Mm-hmm.
all kind of drop their phones.
Well, and they're all just kind of standing there in shock, and Riley's like, "We need to move, move."
And so they go up to a storage room, and Chris goes and kind of treats Marty's wound while Riley goes downstairs to try and get a phone to call for help.
Which, by the way, there was no... I know not a lot of people know this, but it's actually worse to get shot in the leg with an arrow than it is with a bullet, because the head on the arrow is so broad it almost always severs your artery, and at that point you've got like 10 minutes to live.
Well, she lasts longer than 10 minutes.
But yeah.
So Riley breaks off like a broom handle and kind of sneaks downstairs. Meanwhile, Chris is like, someone has to go see if Jesse's okay. So she goes up to the attic and finds Jesse wrapped in Christmas lights sitting in a rocking chair, just
Oh,
like
boy.
Black Christmas 2006.
Yep.
Slash, which is also an homage to Black Christmas 1974.
Oh boy.
Anyway.
We're getting too deep.
So Riley's able to kind of like sneak around the house. She's able to avoid detection by the guy in the mask. And then like a door opens and closes, and she kind of ducks behind a couch. And then she hears Riley and Nate standing there. And he's like, I'm so sorry I acted like that. I just wanted to...
I had a migraine.
Yeah, I just wanted to tell Marty. And then we hear this like ringing noise. And like his head starts to hurt again. And then like his attitude completely changes. And he's like, my girlfriend's in trouble. Take the keys and get out of here. It's a man's job to protect the women. And then immediately gets shot in the face with an arrow.
My favorite, he's like, "Come on, you coward, where are you hiding?" And then, yeah, you get shot in the eye with an arrow.
Thwump.
That's where he was hiding.
Riley gets cornered by the killer, who tries to like kiss her under the mistletoe.
Weird.
And then gets distracted by like a Christmas animatronic that had been malfunctioning. Like they mentioned earlier on that it's malfunctioning, which I think might also be a Black Christmas 1974 reference,
I think
because
so.
it's they mentioned the door's not working earlier on, and then later on it pays off. So it kind of distracts the guy long enough for Riley to kind of escape. At first she reaches for the axe that Nate was holding, but can't get to it. The killer's like starts to like strangle her. And Riley grabs something and stabs Nate's keys straight into his jugular.
Oh, they reference the door thing, too. When they're leaving to get the Christmas tree, Riley's like, "Did they get that door fixed yet?"
I didn't even catch that. And so all the other girls kind of run downstairs, and they're kind of, catching their breath just for there to be another killer in the house.
Oh, boy.
Marty sacrifices herself so the other two girls can hide. As she bleeds out, she calls 911 and is able to alert the police, as we learn that the address of the sorority is 1974 Elm Road.
Oh, boy.
1974.
Just like the date of the original Black Christmas.
Right. Chris and Riley attempt to split up, but the killer is standing on top of the kitchen island behind Chris, who kind of attacks her, but Riley is able to get like the ham fork.
Yep.
And stabs the killer in the back, and then Chris stabs him in the face.
Get forked.
The security guard bursts into, like, as this happens, the security guard bursts into the sorority house, and he's like, "Everybody freeze!" And then we realize it's not the house Riley and Chris are at; it's the Delta Sig house, and they've also been attacked by a black-robed masked intruder.
They seem to be fighting back a lot more effectively.
Yep, I think like 5 of them are alive.
Yeah.
And then the security guard gets killed from behind by another
Black mask
guy. Riley and Chris realize that it isn't blood, but black goo.
Oh, no.
And the guy they killed is the pledge from earlier that Riley spied on.
I saw him at the ritual.
Chris leaves to get the keys from the killer's throat, but gets stabbed by a third killer in the house.
Yep.
Riley then suffocates him with a dry cleaning bag, just
Oh,
like Black
boy.
Christmas 1974.
Oh,
Another killer appears in the house as the girls escape in Nate's car. And Riley tells Chris about what she spied with the black goo and the bust and everything.
of course, it's Hawthorne's black magic, Jay.
And they need to destroy the bust, which Chris thinks that Riley is just crazy, and Riley leaves.
Which, I mean, is a legitimate response to this, yes.
That's the thing. I was torn. I'm like, in one aspect, I would be like, yeah, that's insane. But in the other aspect, I am being stalked by a bunch of black-robed killers. So
Yeah.
maybe she's not completely wrong.
I don't know if I would necessarily jump to black magic mind control goo right off the bat, but yeah,
Yep.
I mean, it's a little more plausible.
We then get this great scene. I think one of my other favorite moments. My other favorite moment that I mentioned earlier on was the Exorcist 3 kill.
Yeah.
But I love the scene of Riley walking down the street, like limping down the street, dragging a shovel behind her
Yep.
as like a weapon. And she, like, there's someone standing in the distance, and she kind of like, you think, oh, she's going to fight it. And then it's just Landon standing there, completely unaware of all these murders that have occurred, holding a poinsettia.
I brought you some flowers.
And then he's like, Riley, are you okay? I just want to help. And Riley kind of like looks at him, and she's like, do you really want to help? We cut back to Chris driving by the Delta Sig's house and seeing all the carnage there as Una appears and says it's been happening at all the sororities. And this is when she like name drops like 4 other Greek alphabets. Riley is using the rock key that she saw Gelson use to let Landon into the frat, and he starts trashing stuff because they had ruined his mixer because he was doing the sound for the talent show. And then a bunch of dudes in black robes appear, and he hears a ringing in his ears, and he gets a headache that is caused by the founder's bust bringing out his true alpha.
Yes.
What
Finally.
a stupid line. I mean, it's stupid people who say this alpha male shit. So, I mean,
That's true.
Riley is able to get to the bust and hears Helena calling for help. And she goes to kind of help her. And then Helena gets like a sly smile on her face as we see a black robe figure appear behind her who knocks Riley out. And it turns out Helena was in on it the whole time.
Finally, a woman who knows her place.
Riley wakes up and sees Landon with the goo smeared all over his face.
Oh no, he's been good.
And Phil and Gelson and Brian are all standing there as Landon is being initiated into the fraternity.
Guus fraternum gooey.
And this is where Gelson tells the whole backstory about Calvin Hawthorne's goo giving men supernatural strength.
This is important now. Because essentially it's mind control goo, which is going to lead me into one of my main problems with this movie that's going to occur in a few minutes.
And this goo allows the spirit of Calvin Hawthorne to possess these young men. It allows Calvin Hawthorne to come inside of them with his goo.
Yep.
And
He was Calvin Hawthorne. If there's one thing he loved, it was being in young men.
and giving them supernatural strength and endurance.
In the finest ancient Greek tradition.
The black masked figure appears and starts making his way towards Riley. You think like, oh, this is it. Like he's going to kill Riley, and walks straight past her to Helena, where Helena's like, you know, what's going on? And she looks behind her and there's this altar, and it has all the missing items on it from earlier in the movie, because these were all, I guess, like totems that they
Yes.
needed to direct
Yes.
Calvin Hawthorne's rage or
Apparently,
something.
you have to have something marking the woman you want to kill.
And then Helena turns around, and it's a real Chris Jericho, the List of Jericho thing, where Kevin got him a brand new list. Kevin Owens got him a brand new list, and Jericho's like, "You got me a new list," and he picks it up and he's like, "Wait, why is my name on it?"
Yep.
And then it says the list of Kevin Owens, and Kevin Owens beats the shit out of Chris Jericho.
It's exactly like
It's pretty much that. It is pretty much that exact. Baby, why is my necklace on the altar? And then she gets her neck snapped.
I can't believe they ate my face.
Can't believe the leopards ate my face. Riley tries to fight back, but she gets overpowered, and the black masked figure starts to strangle her. And she's just about to pass out. as the Black Mask guy gets arrowed by Chris and the rest of the sorority sisters who all showed up.
And they rush in for a weird slow motion wolf growling sound effect final battle.
Yeah, we get this real, like, the scene in Avengers where, like, all the heroes show in Avengers Endgame, where just all the heroes show up and all the girls are fighting with, like, I don't know, some of them have bow and arrows, some of them have swords for some reason.
One of them has an umbrella.
And, like, a couple of them are, like, fighting with paddles.
Yeah.
Like, it's a very strange fight scene.
Very strange, very weird. Like I said, weird slow motion moments, weird animal growls happening. I don't know. That was one of the things that worked against me liking this movie, Jay.
Riley gets cornered by Brian. He kind of pins her down, and he's on top of her. We get flashes back to him raping her, like the flashbacks to that. And she's then able to overpower him, flings him backwards, and he goes like back of his neck first into a step, which probably didn't kill him, probably just paralyzed him,
yeah.
which, boy, means the last like 10 minutes of his life are truly awful, because that means he's aware of everything that's going on.
Indeed.
Riley then picks up the bust of Calvin Hawthorne as Gelson like pleads for her to not do it. I think even but he's like, don't do it. You need to know your place. And then Riley smashes the bust on the ground as goo spills everywhere.
Yes, I think it would have been much better if she had just smashed it on the ground, but she has to do this cringy, like, we will not be controlled.
Yeah. And then Chris just picks up like a candle and lights Gelson on fire.
Yes.
And then the fire starts spreading. Landon is able to break out of his mind control because now that the bust is destroyed, the goo no longer has its mind control powers.
And this is the biggest thing that because all these pledges and stuff are just mind-controlled guys who aren't necessarily evil, but they lock them all in there to burn to death.
They kill all of them. All the girls escape. They barricade the doors with like 2 oars.
Yeah.
And then they all leave the house as they all burn inside. But yeah, most of these guys were mind controlled.
Yep. So there's that.
And then also, but like I said, Brian, I mean, to be fair, he deserves it. He's a
Yes.
terrible guy, but has to live through. He's paralyzed and gets burned alive.
No, like, I don't care about Brian and the professor, but it's like all those other guys, they got burned alive in there.
Because they were just mind controlled.
We're just trying to join a fraternity.
And then, like I said, and then you just picture like the Zetas showing up and they're like, yeah, let's go prank those assholes. And then they like turn up and just the entire place is burned to the ground. And they're like, the fuck did we miss?
I almost wonder if the movie knew that ending was weird because they like instantly cut to the end credits without spending any time about it.
Yeah, it's just Riley standing there illuminated by the flames, and then credits start to roll. Mid-credit scene, Claudette is licking black goo off of one of the dead bodies in the sorority house. End of movie.
Gross, but okay.
Oh, man. What a film.
Indeed. It was a film.
All right, well, where do you want to start off, Jeff, for our categories?
Let's talk about the Christmas spirit.
All right, how Christmassy is the movie? How Christmassy are the kills? I would say other than the icicle kill. The kills aren't very Christmassy.
There's the icicle kill and the strangling with Christmas lights kill.
Yep.
And there is a hatchet used at one point to wound somebody.
Yep.
So that's Chris. I would say on the low end of Christmassy, though.
But the like how Christmassy is the movie, I would say I was kind of thinking about it like in Black Christmas terms. Mm-hmm. It is nowhere near as Christmassy as Black Christmas 2006. Like,
yeah.
I think that, like I've said before, I think that might be one of the most Christmassy movies.
That's kind of what I was on the fence about it, because it's like, I mean, it's centered around the Christmas break and all that stuff, and there is some Christmas stuff going on, but it's not technically Christmas when it happens, so there's really not a whole lot of reference to it.
Right. But you get the lights, you get all the trappings. Like, the set design is all there.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the thing. You could have set this movie kind of at any time, except for the fact that it's supposed to be kind of a sequel to or a remake of Black Christmas.
Yeah. Like, this could have easily been like a spring break movie.
But like, I do think a lot of I think the lights look great. I think you get those really nice Christmassy scenes. The only problem being, because it is shot in New Zealand, I think there's a lot of fake snow used. There's one scene, I can't find it anymore, but it might be in the opening kill, where you watch the killer and they're clearly just like stepping on like a blanket.
Yeah.
And like their foot does not sink into the snow.
I liked that opening kill was one of the most Christmassy with the snow angel things and one of my favorites.
But like, and because of that, like I think there's more lights in this movie, but you don't feel how cold it is. Like I think with Black Christmas 1974, you get how cold that movie is. When the people talk, their breath is coming out of their mouth.
Well,
like that movie
like-
just looks freezing cold.
You know who really sells the cold in that movie the best? Mrs. Mack. The way she looks like she's just about frozen to death every time she comes into a building.
Or Claire's dad.
Yeah, that too.
Like he always just looks like just completely frozen. But yeah, otherwise, like I'd say like
It does.
kind of middle Christmassy.
It's serviceable.
Yep.
It does the job.
It's far from the least Christmassy Christmas movie.
Oh my
we've
God,
watched.
not even close.
Yep.
The American Scream.
Yep. What do you want to do next?
Let's do quotes.
All right, Christmas Carol, favorite quotes. I know you've been itching to get some of yours out there. I have a couple good ones too.
I thought it was a pretty good use when she can either die or bow, and Phil's like, "Your body, your choice."
I'm gonna start kind of at the end because we were talking about, or at the end of my list of quotes, because we were talking about kind of indiscernible things that are kind of heard off screen, but if you have subtitles on, they actually like tell you what's being said. Chris says, like I said, kind of indiscernibly, "I'm wearing a thong and some other underwear."
Yep, I do remember that.
Which reminded me of In To All a Good Night, all the way back to our first episode, where the PA announcement comes on and it's like, "If anyone has the underwear hanging on the clothesline with the blue stain, da 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 da," and it was just one of the like, the fuck did they just say about blue stained underwear?
Professor Gelson, Jay. Imagine a world where you're no longer standing in the corner, but you're sitting on the throne. He's trying to convince Landon to join them.
Fran, I have a final in 10 minutes and I can't find my Diva Cup. Riley, how do you lose a Diva Cup? Fran, with abandon.
Landon, when he's trying to be intimidating and tough to the all these mind controlled masked killing guys walking up to him, and he's like, "Sniff my sweaty farts."
Zeta's rule. You're not a Zeta. You're right. Is it bad that we're calling it Orphan's Dinner since you're... And this is Marty. And then Riley goes, "Wait, my parents are dead?" Which that's the reason why Riley is on campus, is because she doesn't have anywhere to be for Christmas. Chris, and it's not like they destroyed the freaking thing. The Deeks took it to their frat, and now they can jerk off onto it, and no one has to see it.
Yep. Professor Gelson, when he's trying to convince Riley not to smash the bust of Hawthorne, he's like, wait, don't you see? Woman is inexorably tied to man. Break us, and you only break yourselves.
All that jerking off on the bust is what made all the goo come out.
Yeah.
Another kind of like inaudibly said, like indiscernible line. Chris goes, "Do women say the word dump?" And then Marty goes, "I mean, yeah." And then Chris goes, "I hate that women have these cutie names for taking a shit."
I didn't realize dump was a cutie name for taking
Right.
a shit. That's more like what an old man says.
I gotta go take a dump.
Chris has a lot of cringy lines in this movie, but this line I thought was actually good. When she's talking to Riley, she's like, "What Brian did to you is awful, and it's terrible that nobody believed you, but you can't just sit on the sidelines alone forever. You're going to keep shrinking and shrinking until there's nothing left of you. You used to be a fighter. It's time to be a fighter again, if not for yourself, then for your sisters."
I thought that was a good line too. My last one is Landon. "Why is Santa Claus scared of getting stuck in a chimney?" Riley, "Oh, this is going to be bad." Landon, "Because he's claustrophobic." And all it made me think of was the SpongeBob.
Oh.
"Stop it, Patrick! You're scaring him."
Oh.
So, "Guys, I'm claustrophobic." "What does that mean?" "It means he's scared of Santa Claus." Ho ho ho! "Stop it, Patrick! You're scaring him."
But yeah, that was what I had.
You want to do Broken Bulb, Brilliant Bulb?
Sure.
All right. One thing we want to fix and one thing we want to praise. I'll go first.
Okay.
My broken bulb, and I know this is going to sound weird coming from me. I really appreciate subtle nods
Yeah.
to movies, but at a certain point, I was like, I get it. You like Black Christmas.
Yeah,
Like,
it was a little heavy-handed.
it just reached a point where it kept happening, and I'm like, I get it. Like,
Yeah.
I like Black Christmas too. It's also my favorite movie. You need to stop with all the homages and nods.
Yeah. So many nods. We're just nodding the entire movie.
Yeah, I'm gonna snap my neck because I'm nodding so much. What's your fix?
My broken bulb was, can we stop it suffers from a bad case of what I call Joss Whedon dialogue, where people are like spewing random quips and one-liners in conversation constantly, and it's like people don't actually talk like this.
Very very MCU dialogue,
Yes.
kind of, yeah.
It's like, we need less cringy lines. We need less like weird jokes, like the one you were talking about with the dump thing. It's like, why are we talking about this?
Oh, he's standing behind me, isn't he?
Yes, that's like, I've had so much of that. It really takes me out of a movie.
I was glad we didn't get that. I was glad when like Chris, when the killer was like standing on the island, or like I'm glad we didn't get a like, oh, he's right behind me. I'm
Yes.
glad we did not get one of those.
Yes, I think a little bit less of the weird dialogue would have been good.
What's the thing you want to praise? Your brilliant bulb.
I like that they did their own thing. Instead of just doing another remake of Black Christmas, they took the idea of a killer on like a winter break with a sorority and made it into its own cool, unique idea. And I think honestly, if they had explored it a little bit more, probably with an R rating, people would like this movie a lot more.
I kind of agree with you. I think I had like this moment where I'm like, I would either like not call it Black Christmas and keep a couple nods in and be like, well, yeah, you know, we're paying homage to Black Christmas without it being Black Christmas, or else maybe just remove the supernatural thing.
Yeah.
But like you keep that supernatural thing in, you can explore more of the movie.
Yep. I mean, if it came out today, it would probably be like Hawthorne, A Black Christmas Story, or something
Yeah.
like that.
My brilliant bulb, the thing I want to praise is I really liked Imogen Poots' performance. I thought she was really kind of the standout performer in the movie. I mean, alongside Carrie Elwes,
Yeah.
who you know, I had Carrie Elwes is every time
Right,
Carrie Elwes
yeah.
is in a thing, I'm like, oh shit, Carrie Elwes is in this. But like, I couldn't picture, like, I knew the name. Because it's such a unique name, you know, Imogen
Yeah.
Poots. But I was sitting there and I'm just like, man, she did a great job. Like there's a reason she's one of the two biggest names in the movie.
Yeah.
And I thought she did a really standout job, and it made me kind of like want to look up some more movies she's in, just because I was more like, oh, I'm actually kind of interested in what she does. I thought maybe some of the other actors were fine, but
Yeah.
I thought she did a really, really good job.
I know she's in 28 Weeks Later.
It's been years since I've seen that.
And I think Green Room.
Okay, I
think
need
she's
to
in that
watch
one.
Green Room.
Yeah.
Christmas wrapping, set design, costumes, etc.
I thought the killers looked good. The weird black masks they wore and like the fraternity robes turned into like a killer costume. I thought it was well done.
I thought that was kind of cool too.
I like the fact that they used in another homage to a famous Christmas killer using a bow and arrow. I like that.
I had that thought as well. I was like, I wonder if the bow and arrow is a Silent Night, Deadly Night
Yeah,
reference.
I mean, it almost certainly has to be.
I loved the use of Christmas lights. I loved how well decorated the set was. You get all these like beautiful old style like fraternity houses with kind of like the big kind of sweeping courtyards and the the balconies and stuff, and they're all decorated for Christmas. And I thought they all looked outstanding. Like I thought they all looked great.
Oh, I remembered another movie that's good and another remake that she's in. She's in the Fright Night remake from
Okay.
2011. That's actually really good.
I need to check that one out as well. Random Fright Night trivia fact. I believe technically they never mention where Fright Night takes place, but at one point someone receives like an unemployment paper, and it is from the state of Iowa, which technically means that Fright Night, I think, takes place in Iowa.
Nice. I'll take it.
Anything else, or are you ready to move on to final rating?
I thought the Christmas decorations were well handled. They look nice. I thought they did a good job of making the college look like a college, like in the classroom and stuff. It didn't look like super cheap like a lot of college sets do.
Oh yeah, there's a movie that I really do want to talk about because I'm excited for us to get to it. But I watched it earlier this year and I'm like, that feels more like a high school classroom.
Yep. But yeah, no, that was pretty much it.
All right. Well, final rating. Every episode of Horror for the Holidays, we rate our movie on one of three categories. Is it ho 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 hilarious? Is it seasonally scary? Or is it you will be sorry? Jeff?
I gave this one a ho ho hilarious. It's got enough redeeming qualities to it that I think it's worth a watch. And it does enough different than the other Black Christmas remake to make it not feel like it's just a waste of your time. But if you are expecting a Black Christmas story, you are probably going to be disappointed because it's really not that.
I kind of agree with you. I think this is... there was a weird moment where I'm kind of like... I think I like this one. There are things in 2006 I like better than this movie, but I think overall, I think this is kind of a more fun movie. Like I said, I really like the lighting and the sound and like the music in Black Christmas 2006. And I think like up until they leave the sorority house, like I think Black Christmas 2006 is a really solid movie. Yeah. This one, I think I enjoyed it a lot more, even if I didn't have those moments of connection with like the music and the sound. But I was like, but it also suffered from they left the sorority house and there's still about 30 minutes left in the movie.
Yes.
And then it feels like those last 30 minutes kind of drag.
No, that was my biggest thing that held me back from giving it a better like endorsement is the ending of this movie really just ruins the whole movie.
Because like otherwise it's a great movie. Like I think it's a great movie. I think it's a fun movie. You know, like I said, either keep the killer from not being supernatural, and keep it like a Black Christmas movie and do kind of a new, unique, different thing, or have it be like a supernatural thing and then be like it's kind of its own thing, but we're paying homage to Black Christmas.
It's Black Christmas adjacent. Yeah.
But like I've seen, there's a lot of people mad about this movie online.
Which, I mean, is understandable. If you were expecting a Black Christmas movie, I could see why you would be disappointed with this.
But I would say that this is a much better movie than another movie we've watched, which is paying homage to Black Christmas in Red Christmas, which I think you and I both hated.
Yeah, it wasn't great.
And so I'm like, well, all these people complaining, and I mean, whatever. Like, if you're complaining about this movie, boy, don't watch Red Christmas because it's trying to be Black Christmas and it's just worse in every single way.
But no, honestly, I think if you watch like the first 2/3 of this movie, you could say, yeah, that was pretty good. But then the last third just totally lets it down. Especially that weird, that sticks out in my mind, that weird ending fight scene where, yes, it was like Avengers Assemble time. And I was like, I don't know about this.
I think on the Joe Bob special for when they did 74, they knew this movie was coming out, and Joe Bob was already like, oh, it's gonna be like, he's like, it's gonna be a slasher movie, and then at the end there's gonna be like a big karate fight, and I don't think Joe Bob had seen the movie yet, but I'm like, oh no, he kind of nailed it.
But yeah, it's not good. That coupled with burning everybody alive.
Which is an interesting choice.
Yep.
But yeah, otherwise, no, I completely agree with you. I think it's a fun movie. I think it's worth a watch. It's probably like a ho hilarious. There's some funny moments. There's some real funny dialogue. And if you are a Black Christmas fan, there are things to look out for in this movie. Even if at a certain point you're kind of like, stop beating me over the head with it. I get it. You like Black Christmas.
Yes, there's things to like in this movie, but if you're sensitive to cringe, you may also find your spine broken by this movie. So. Yeah,
like you said, yes, very Joss Whedon kind of dialogue. I agree. I hadn't even thought of that, but when you said that. Well, Jeff, did you stop to think that maybe we're getting clothes for Christmas?
Oh, no. No, not the internet. Don't make me read the internet.
Sadly. We have to do our new favorite segment and read what the internet has to say about this movie.
Oof.
I found one review there. I mean, you can kind of picture what a lot of the reviews are. People complaining about how woke this movie is. Same kind of thing that happened with It's a Wonderful Knife.
Yeah.
And I kind of took a page, tried to take a page out of your book.
Yeah.
with where the first time I just kind of went the knife with It's a Wonderful Knife, I kind of just went and tried to lean into finding those reviews.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this time I'm going to at least try to find one that's maybe a little different. A disgrace to the 1974 classic. I wouldn't go that far, my dude. And I thought the 2006 remake was bad. Ha! This one makes it look great. This one makes it look like a great movie. Seriously, guys, this movie has no quality plot, writing, thought, or direction. I disagree. The characters were exceptionally bad and unlikable and had no depth. I mean, you and I kind of agreed with that. Like,
Yeah,
it feels like there's about 30 minutes cut out of the movie.
The characters are a weak spot in this movie for sure.
But I mean, I wouldn't say they are unlikable. The scares were cliche and very unoriginal. It's a total introvert to the 1974 cult classic. The original actually had suspense, a creepy atmosphere, scary scenes, and an effective direction. This one had none of those things. I'm very surprised that this was the line that sold me, because Blumhouse usually makes quality films from my experience. Very disappointed.
I mean, yes and no. Blumhouse does make some quality films, but they've also made some pretty bad ones too.
Do not ruin your holiday and see Black Christmas. The original is great, but not this one. 316 people found that helpful. 72 people did not.
Well,
1 out of 10 stars.
Honestly, from his review, I don't think it's a 1. I think he's giving it more like a 3 or a 4. But I can see where his complaints are coming from, and I could see if, like I said, if you're going into this expecting something even like the 2006 remake or whatever, it's nothing like that. So
No, it's very different. It's its own thing going in its own direction.
But I do, one of his biggest points with the characters being flat, I do agree. They were pretty two-dimensional.
Like, I don't find them unlikable, but
they're not. There's not much there.
And like I think you and I even kind of said, or I know I said it, like, it suffers from a bad case of, like, a lot of these people are the same. Like, I can't tell these 4 brunette ladies apart.
Yeah.
And at one point, even Helena has like a necklace that says Helena on it.
Yes.
And we mentioned that necklace.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I turned to my wife and I went, "Do you think she's wearing the necklace so people knew which one was Helena?" Like,
honestly, I think that probably is why. Yes.
Oh, that one's Helena.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because honestly, I don't know how you would know without that. All right, Jay. Wow. 1 star, by the way. The 1974 version of Black Christmas is one of the scariest movies I ever saw.
I agree.
Up until that point, no one had managed to balance such a perfect combination of tension building and music without showing a drop of blood other than Hitchcock. The most effective thing that Bob Clark did in the original is he left the audience guessing as to who Billy and Agnes were and why Billy was doing what he was doing. In 2006, they dumbed things down enough so modern audiences wouldn't be too put off by the movie, but they still paid a decent homage to the original. Now this is a ridiculous incarnation. It's non-scary, preachy, badly acted, and boring. It's not that I'm knocking the Me Too sentiment. I just believe it should have been attached to a different movie, rather than rebranding a cult classic as a think piece. The director seems talented, and I think she should continue making horror movies with a feminist slant. Just don't let her remake any more classics. I'm begging you.
One thing I will say is, I think I kind of agree with some of that stuff.
This is why I picked this one. I was like, I could see some of the agreement with this one.
I will say 1974 Black Christmas, there's blood. It looks very fake, but there is blood.
Yes.
So, but also the 1974 Black Christmas, literally there's part of the plot involves abortion, like, and female bodily autonomy and Jess wanting to have an abortion and Keir Dulley's like, it's my baby. I get a say in this.
I think part of the reason that people don't like the way they do this kind of messaging now is because in modern movies, they beat you over the head with it and just directly say it. Whereas like in Black Christmas, it's just implied through the plot. And I think it's much more well done.
But yeah, I more just wanted to point out, like, no, there actually is what you're talking about in that movie. But no, otherwise, like, there were some things and I completely agree. I would like to see more of this director because I think there are some really neat shots and stuff like that in this movie.
Yeah, I agree.
I didn't have any other ones because, like I said, the majority of the stuff, like I said, you can kind of guess what the reviews are.
This one I thought was kind of close to what my main complaint about the movie was. This movie had a lot going for it. The director was really good. The shots were really good. Cool use of color. The actors were talented, but it totally bombs where it matters the most. The story.
It's just kind of weird. Like, it just takes such a weird turn.
Yeah. Like, I love this movie up until about the middle, and that's when I started to see a lot of problems. And I still don't understand why they called it Black Christmas. The constant callbacks are not enjoyable.
That's the thing too, is like, you can't really make Black Christmas these days. Like,
Yep.
people don't answer their phones. Instead it's text messages, and you can't do the threatening,
Yeah.
like, text message. It just doesn't come across the same way
Well,
as the weird phone
yeah.
calls. Or in 2006, it's friends calling each other, so they
Mm-hmm.
have a reason to pick up the phone.
No, it's definitely a product of its time.
But I mean, yeah,
And this is my last one. Once again, Hollywood shows they have no idea how to write female empowerment characters. The movie was lacking in story. It seems like they just wanted to get a message across, and they didn't really care about how they did it. The movie follows a sexually assaulted student, which is treated more like a subplot, honestly, than the main thrust of the movie like it should have been. I don't think this should have been called Black Christmas. I think it should have been its own thing, and it would have been better for it. The third act totally lost the plot. I honestly didn't even care when they burned everyone alive at the end. I was just glad it was over.
I mean, I disagree. I was very concerned about all those people that were mind gooed.
Yes, that's what I was saying. It's like, man, these guys were just gooed, and now they're dead.
I hate getting gooed
Yeah.
and then dying.
That's why you never join a frat.
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, like, you know what? We're going to start our own frat with blackjack and hookers.
But see, honestly, the thing that I disagree with these reviews about the most is making it 1 star. I don't think this movie deserves 1 star. I think it's at least like a 2 or a 3-star movie.
Like I said, watch Red Christmas. If you want a 1-star version of Black Christmas, watch Red Christmas. It is worse than it is a 1-star Black Christmas. We'll just say it that way.
But yeah, so honestly, not as much disagreement between us and the internet on this one as usual. Just more in how they rate movies overall.
Well, Jeff, where do you want to put the goo on our naughty list?
I mean, honestly, that goo seems pretty powerful. Although its glaring weakness is if you break the statue, the goo loses its power.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say probably pretty low on the list.
I was gonna say it's probably better than Terrence Shade and Barricade.
Yeah.
You know who would love the goo? You know who would absolutely love it? The kid in Better Watch Out.
Yeah.
He would love the goo, and I think
think-
that's maybe a good place to put it. Is
Yeah.
maybe right ahead of the kid in Better Watch Out.
Honestly, I don't know, though. I think he's a little bit better than the goo, because if you think about it, what does the goo really accomplish? The guys who attacked the other sororities seemingly lost their fight with the sorority sisters.
That's a fair point.
So, honestly, I think Better Watch Out guy would probably kill these people.
Yeah, what was wrong? What was wrong with Riley's sorority that only 2 of them lived? Well, it seemed like every other sorority, most of the girls
I mean,
lived.
because, yes, there was a big army of sorority girls at the end, so it's like most of them lived.
All right, I agree with you. We could put the goo right below the kid from Better Watch Out.
I agree.
All right, well, Jeff, it's time to clean out what's left of Christmas in a little segment we like to call
Garbage Day! Huh? No!
All right, we got Club Minis cinnamon sugar flavored.
Oh, but speaking of, my mom was so mad about the description I put for the apology. Because she's like, did you write that or did Jay? And I'm like, oh, Jay, I don't think Jay would write that. I didn't. I just thought that was funny. All right, here we go. Got Club Cinnamon Sugar.
Robert also commented on it. He thought it was very funny.
I like it. It's good. Works.
It's got that club cracker flavor, but with cinnamon and sugar on it.
No, it's good. It reminds me a little bit of Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
I had the same thought. I think those are great.
Yep.
All right, I got hot chocolate Pop-Tarts. We can each take one or whatever.
No, I'm eating them both. I'll describe the taste to you, Jay.
We got Muddy Bites waffle cone snack candy canes.
There you go, sir. Oh, they have a phrase on the front. Raise a mug.
I thought it said like praise hog.
Praise hog.
Praise hog.
I mean, honestly, that's probably more accurate.
Mine says crazy good cocoa.
I thought I was going to say crazy black goo, and I'm like, oh my god, we're eating the goo.
I mean, they are chocolate Pop-Tarts. They are goo filled. Oh god, I'm feeling the goo.
Not bad. Pretty good.
It's all right.
I mean, it's a Pop-Tart. Get what you pay for.
Speaking of Pop-Tarts, how about Iowa State winning the Pop-Tart Bowl, the greatest college sporting event in American history?
I was going to say, does any other sporting event even matter?
I loved the Pop-Tart Bowl. I'm going to watch the Pop-Tart Bowl every year. It is my new favorite thing.
That and the Corn Bowl. Love the Corn Bowl.
So yeah, these are ice cream cone bottoms
Oh, okay.
with some kind of candy cane filling inside.
All right, here we go. Not a fan of the name. Muddy Bite sounds like some kind of weird sex thing, but good though.
Don't do an Urban Dictionary search for Muddy
I was
Bites.
gonna say, don't be doing any Muddy Bites, people.
Did we do these last year? The Christmas Jewel Jelly Bellies? I know we did a Christmas Jelly Belly.
No, we didn't do the Jewel ones.
Okay. So it's Jewel Very Cherry, Jewel Green Apple, and Jewel Cream Soda. And we're gonna do the thing where we also shove all of them in our mouth at the same time afterwards.
Well, I mean, we got to see how it mixes. For real fatsos like us, Jay, we got to make sure we get the full experience.
Famous last words. The cherry's great.
Liking the green. Green's good. Cherry's good.
Cream soda leaves a little to be desired. It's fine.
Yeah.
And I think the cherry's my favorite of the three, but the green apple's not bad. But now it's time to do a whole handful at once.
You ready for this?
Oh boy.
Honestly, I think I like it a little bit better as a group.
I think the cherry really overpowers the rest of the Jelly Bellies.
I like the mix.
All right, and then we got 4 drinks
Oh my god.
to wash it down with. Here's a Kool-Aid Snow Day.
Nice. I mean, it's not going to be Kool-Aid, but
Here's an Alani Nu Winter Wonderland.
nice.
Here's a 7-Up Shirley Temple.
I thought about trying this, but did not.
And here's a Poppy? Poppy? Poopie? Cranberry Fizz.
Shit juice.
That's watch out, you'll get a muddy bite.
I was going to say, you drink too much Poppy, it gives you muddy bites.
Kool-Aid, Snow Day. It's got the Kool-Aid man throwing snowballs. He's wearing a scarf. He's got earmuffs on. There's a raspberry and maybe a blackberry on it.
Blueberry up there.
Doesn't taste too bad.
Yeah, it's pretty good. No, like I said, it was never going to be Kool-Aid, but it's okay.
Yeah, but yeah, I downed that whole thing immediately. Like it was tasty.
It's good.
All right, which one do you want to do next?
Let's try some Poopy, Jay.
All right, let's get this poopy going. Cranberry Fizz. They were on sale like 2 for $1, and I went.
Oh my god.
I went. Well, that's going to be terrible. We got to get it for the podcast.
It smells like beer. I don't think that's a good thing.
Prebiotic soda.
Oh god.
Oh, it will make you poopy.
I'm already on antibiotics, Jay. This is not good.
It also kind of tastes like beer a little bit.
Just not good.
It's not good. That's terrible.
That's not. Yeah, it does. It's non-alcoholic beer with a cranberry twist.
Not a fan. Not a fan at all.
I don't think I need any of that prebiotic there.
All right, you ready to do an Alani Nu Winter Wonderland?
Let's do it.
It's got a narwhal ornament, a flamingo inner tube ornament. Got some like holly and evergreen on it. A little disco ball. Interesting can. I assume it's kind of like, I assume because it's maybe fancies itself more of like a summery kind of energy drink. Maybe that's kind of why the decorations are the way they are. I do not like the smell.
Yeah, the smell's not great, but the taste is okay.
Yeah, it's not bad. I know this is only the second time we've ever done one of these because we did the caramel apple one a while ago. But I think I like this one better than that caramel apple one we did.
Yeah, it's got a better flavor.
Certainly better than the poopy.
Yeah, I mean, that's not difficult.
And last but not least,
Shirley Temple.
Shirley Temple 7-Up. Pink can. It's got a little, the 7-Up dot it looks like a gift wrap kind of deal.
Pretty good.
And just kind of tastes like a Shirley Temple.
Yeah.
Honestly, more just kind of tastes like 7-Up.
Yeah.
I'm not getting much like cherry or grenadine flavor.
No, I would say it's pretty much just like cherry 7-Up.
Yep. Drink wise, it's probably poopy 7-Up, Alani, and then Kool-Aid.
Yeah, I agree.
Snack wise, they were all pretty solid. It
Yeah.
wasn't a bad one.
Honestly, I would say probably last I would go the Pop-Tarts.
I agree. And it's not that they're bad. They're just
They're
yeah.
Pop-Tarts. Jelly Belly probably after that. And then the Muddy Bites. And then I think the Club Crackers are my favorite.
That's the thing. It's hard. I did like the Jelly Bellies a lot. I think for me it might be Muddy Bites, then Jelly Bellies, then the Club Crackers. Those Club Crackers are tasty.
They are.
But yeah. Anyway, thanks for listening to Horror for the Holidays. Get in touch with us on social media. We are all the places: Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, Threads, Twitter. We're at Horror 4 Holidays. Horror, the number 4 Holidays. Send us an email for our Garbage Day segment so we don't have to eat more trash.
Yes.
Horrorfortheholidays@gmail.com.
YouTube.com/horrorfortheholidays. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the bell. Watch. Listen. Do the things. Oh, and comment so we know you're out there.
Leave comments. We've gotten some phone comments lately.
Yep.
Otherwise, also subscribe on your podcatcher of choice. 5 stars. Jeff and Jade, what took you so long to release this shitty episode?
Yeah.
Jeff was in the hospital. Listen to the last episode. Come on, guys.
Exactly. Follow your lore.
But otherwise, also we're proud to be part of the Christmas Podcast Network. We haven't mentioned that for a little while.
Indeed.
But lots of great podcasts out there. Really great people involved. All the people I've interacted with have all been really sweet people, and just kind of a fun place to hang out, and some really fun podcasts out there. Like we've mentioned before, Totally Rad Christmas, Seasons Eatings, Christmas Creeps. They kind of do what we do, but different.
Yep.
Weird Christmas, all sorts of good stuff.
Yep. Lots of good things on there.
Otherwise, we'll see you next week for a stocking stuffer.
Indeed.
With maybe an announcement.
Oh, no.
And then we'll see you again in 2 weeks with another movie.
Indeed.
And then, except this time, I'll be in the hospital, and then we'll get delayed again.
Delayed.
But no, anyway, yeah, that's it for now. Otherwise, thanks for listening. Happy Epiphany.
Yes. Merry Epiphany, everybody.
And I can't wait till next year when we do It's Me, Billy, the Black Christmas fan film.
Should be fun.
Exciting stuff. Bye.
Goodbye.